I am not just your president. I am your brother, here to serve, I said, my voice steady and warm. Today I give my blood to save a life, and I ask you to join me in building a stronger Burkina Faso.
In the sunlit, dusty streets of Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, life pulsed with a rhythm of hope and struggle. It was 2025, and the nation stood at a crossroads. Years of conflict, poverty, and uncertainty had left scars, but a fresh energy stirred the air. At the heart of it was Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a 37-year-old leader who had become the interim president. Young, determined, and different from past leaders, Traoré was a man of action. He didn't believe in sitting behind a desk or making empty promises. He believed in showing his people what leadership meant. This is the story of one extraordinary day when his kindness changed lives and inspired a continent. Captain Traoré was not like other presidents. He didn't reside in a grand palace or travel with a large entourage. His military uniform was plain, and his smile was genuine. He often walked the streets of Ouagadougou, stopping to chat with market vendors, farmers, or children playing in the dust. People called him Ishouf instead of Mr. President, and he preferred it that way, wanting to be close to his people, to understand their joys and pains. On a particular morning in June 2025, the sun was already hot, painting the city in shades of gold. Traoré was on his way to the Yalgado hospital, one of the largest in Burkina Faso. He wasn't there to cut a ribbon or deliver a speech. He was there to listen. The hospital was struggling, too many patients, too few beds, and shortages of medicine and blood. Traoré wanted to see the problems firsthand and find ways to help. As his small convoy drove through the city, people waved from the roadside. A woman selling oranges shouted, "Ishouf, keep fighting for us." He waved back, his face serious but kind, knowing the weight of their hopes rested on his shoulders. Burkina Faso needed healing, and Traoré was determined to start somewhere, even if it was one small step at a time. The Yalgado hospital was a bustling place. Its white walls were faded, and the corridors were packed with patients waiting on benches or leaning against walls. Nurses moved quickly, their faces showing both exhaustion and determination. The air smelled of antiseptic, and the sound of crying babies mixed with the hum of old ceiling fans. Despite the challenges, the staff worked tirelessly to save lives. Every day, Traoré walked through the hospital with only 3 aides by his side, avoiding a big fuss. He stopped to talk to a young doctor named Dr. Kabor, who was stitching up a child's cut. "How are things here?" Traoré asked. Dr. Kabor sighed, saying they did their best but needed more supplies. Medicine, bandages, blood. Everything was short. Traoré nodded, taking mental notes, and moved on to the maternity ward, where new mothers cradled their babies, some smiling, others too tired to lift their heads. As he walked, Traoré noticed a group of nurses gathered near a door, their voices low and faces tense. One of them, a nurse named Fatima, held a chart and was speaking quickly to her colleagues. Traoré approached, his curiosity piqued, and gently asked what was wrong. Fatima, startled to see the president, hesitated before explaining that a woman, Mariam, had given birth to triplets the previous night and was losing a lot of blood. They lacked enough O-negative blood in their bank, and she was in danger. Mariam, a 28-year-old from a small village outside Ouagadougou, and her husband, Issa, had been overjoyed about her pregnancy. Triplets were a rare blessing, but the delivery had been hard. Mariam was weak, her body struggling after the birth, and without more blood, she might not survive the night. Her 3 tiny babies, 2 girls and a boy, lay in a crib nearby, unaware of their mother's fight. Traoré's face grew serious. "What does she need?" he asked. Fatima explained that Mariam needed O-negative blood, a rare type hard to find. The hospital's blood bank was nearly empty, and they were calling other clinics for a donor, but time was running out. Traoré listened, his mind racing. He had seen too much suffering in his country, and wasn't about to let Mariama become another statistic. Without hesitation, he said, "Test my blood." The nurses froze, unsure if they heard correctly. Fatima blinked, saying he didn't have to do this, that they could find someone else. But Traoré shook his head, insisting calmly but firmly to test him now. The nurses took him to a small room with a single chair and a tray of medical supplies, drew a sample of his blood, and sent it to the lab. The wait was tense. Traoré sat quietly, hands on his knees, thinking of Mariama, a woman he'd never met, and her babies who needed their mother. He thought of his own family, his own mother, and how he'd do anything to save her. Minutes later, Fatima rushed back, her face lit with hope. "It's a match. Your O negative, sir." Traoré nodded, rolling up his sleeve. "Let's do it." The nurses worked quickly, sterilizing his arm and inserting the needle. As the blood flowed into the bag, Traoré sat still, eyes focused, unflinching. For him, this was more than a medical procedure. It was a promise to stand with his people, in even the smallest ways. In the operating room, Mariam's condition was critical, her skin pale and breathing shallow. The doctors worked frantically, monitoring her vital signs. When Fatima ran in with Traoré's blood, the room filled with urgency and hope. They hooked up the transfusion, and slowly, Mariam's body responded. Her heart rate stabilized, and a faint flush returned to her cheeks. The doctors exchanged glances, daring to believe she might pull through. Back in the donation room, Traoré finished giving blood. A nurse handed him mango juice and a biscuit, insisting he rest. "How is she?" he asked. Fatima smiled, saying Mariama was getting stronger, and his blood was saving her. Traoré nodded, relieved but not surprised, having faith in the doctors and the power of tangible action. As he sipped his juice, Traoré thought about the hospital's struggles and the countless others like Mariama caught in a stretched system. He asked Fatima how often this happened, how many needed blood they couldn't provide. Her face grew serious. She said it was too often, that people didn't donate enough, many unaware of its importance or afraid, and the hospital lacked staff and equipment to collect and store blood properly. Traoré, who believed leadership meant solving problems, not just discussing them, knew he couldn't fix everything in a day, but could start somewhere. He stood, energy renewed, and told Fatima to gather the staff, as he wanted to speak to them. In the hospital courtyard, doctors, nurses, janitors, and patients who could walk gathered, eager to hear the president. Traoré stood on a small step, his voice clear and strong. "Today, I gave blood to save a mother named Mariama," he began. "She has 3 babies who need her. I did what I could, but this isn't about me. It's about all of us." He looked at the faces, young, old, tired, hopeful. "We are one Burkina Faso. If we don't help each other, who will? Our hospitals need blood. Our people need care. I'm asking you to step up. If you're healthy, if you're able, donate blood. It doesn't take long. It doesn't hurt much, but it can save a life." The crowd was silent, hanging on his words. Some nodded, others wiped tears from their eyes, having never seen a leader who led by example. Traoré continued, "This is our country, our home. We build it together. Let's start today." The courtyard erupted in applause, nurses hugging, patients clapping from wheelchairs, all feeling seen, heard, and inspired. By the next morning, Traoré's blood donation was everywhere. Local radio stations buzzed, replaying his speech and sharing Mariam's story. Newspapers ran bold headlines: "President saves mother of triplets," and "Traoré's blood, Burkina's hope." In markets, people gathered around radios, smiling and nodding. "That's our Ishuf," an old man said, adjusting his cap. "He's one of us." The story spread beyond Burkina Faso. On platforms like X, Africans shared posts about Traoré's act. A young woman in Accra wrote, "This is what leadership looks like. Giving your own blood to save a stranger." A Nairobi student posted a video saying, "Captain Traoré is showing us the way. Africa needs more like him." In Nigeria, a radio host called him the people's president, with listeners sharing their own stories of kindness. The news reached rural villages. In Bobo Dioulasso, women sat under a baobab tree, talking about Traoré. "He's not like the others," one said, rocking her baby. "He cares," another added. "Maybe we should donate blood too. If he can do it, why can't we?" The story was no longer just about Traoré. It was about what he started. Back at the hospital, Mariam was recovering, weak but able to sit up and hold her babies, named Esada, Aminata, and Adama. Small but healthy, their tiny hands grasping the air. Issa visited daily, bringing fruit or bread for the nurses. Quiet farmer with rough hands and a big heart. He was overcome with gratitude when he learned the president's blood saved his wife. "I don't have much," he told Fatima, holding a basket of yams. "But tell the president thank you. He gave us our family back." Mariama, emotional, said she thought she wouldn't see her babies grow up, but now would, thanks to him. She asked Fatima to write a letter, saying, "Tell him he's a father to us all." Inspired by Traoré, the hospital launched a nationwide campaign. Give blood, save life. Fatima and Dr. Kabor worked with other hospitals to set up mobile donation clinics across Burkina Faso. Posters with Traoré's picture and words. "We are one Burkina Faso. Let's save lives together," were printed, and radio ads encouraged donations, with community leaders spreading the message in churches, mosques, and schools. In Kudugu, a young mechanic named Suleiman, strong and healthy but afraid of needles, heard the call. Inspired by Traoré, he found courage, saying, "If the president can do it, so can I." He donated at a mobile clinic, feeling proud, like he'd done something bigger than himself. Suleiman wasn't alone. Teachers organized school donation drives. Market women closed stalls early to visit clinics, and elders stepped forward. In a week, Ouagadougou's blood banks were fuller than in years, saving dozens from accident victims to mothers like Mariama. The campaign united Burkina Faso's diverse tribes and languages. In clinics, a Fulani farmer chatted with a Mossi teacher. A Christian nurse helped a Muslim donor, differences fading as they united to save lives. Traoré visited clinics like in Banfora, shaking hands with donors, calling them heroes building the future. A student named Fatimata said she wanted to help her country like him. "You already are," Traoré smiled. But Traoré knew one campaign couldn't fix everything. Violence, poverty, and a strained health system loomed. Hospitals needed medicine, beds, and staff. Late one night, in a small office lit by a single bulb, he told his team they'd started something good, but couldn't stop. They needed new clinics, more doctors, and supplies everywhere. Advisors warned it would take time and money, but Traoré, determined, said, "We'll find a way. We always do." His story spread across Africa. In Ghana, a musician wrote "Blood of a Leader," praising his courage. In Kenya, a teacher named Grace had students write essays on leadership, one saying it's about giving, not power. In Nigeria, activists launched the Traoré Challenge, posting X pictures of donors. In South Africa, a radio host asked, "If a president can give his blood, what can we do?" Responses poured in, from food donations to clinic volunteering. Beyond Africa, a French news channel called Traoré, a leader for the people, showing hospital footage. A U.S. blogger wrote, Captain Traoré proves leadership is action. Traoré ignored the fame, focusing on villages and planning. Weeks later, Mariam went home to a small house with a tin roof, surrounded by millet fields. Her village celebrated. The triplets, bringing rice, juice, and blankets. Mariam held Asada, Aminata, and Adama close, naming Aminata after the nurse. She wrote to Traoré, trembling, "You gave me life when I thought I was gone. I'll tell my children about you and pray for you daily." Fatima delivered the letter, which Traoré kept in his pocket, glad Mariam was alive. The Give Blood, Save Life campaign grew, reaching remote villages like P, where women organized drives, saying it was about caring for each other. Clinics became places of connection, stories, and friendships. In Dori, Traoré sat with donors, hearing a tailor named Moussa say, he donated for a country where people help each other. They will, Traoré said, because of people like you. His act sparked more than donations. It rebuilt trust, united a nation, and showed what Burkina Faso could be. He planned nurse training, international partnerships, and rural clinics, knowing it would take years. We're planting seeds, he told his team. They'll grow into trees. At Ouagadougou University, Traoré told students they'd carry the country forward, urging them to study, work, and care for each other. Inspired, many volunteered or donated blood. Years later, Mariam's triplets grew up hearing about the president who saved their mother. Asada became a doctor, Aminata, a teacher sharing kindness, and Adama, a community organizer. They carried Traoré's lesson. One act of kindness could change everything. The campaign became a June tradition, reducing hospital shortages and saving lives. Mali and Senegal started their own drives, inspired by Traoré. Across Africa, Traoré's name symbolized hope. Young leaders saw him as a model of using power for good. In classrooms, markets, and squares, people called him one of us. He wasn't perfect, facing criticism and setbacks, but his heart was with his people. In 2025, as the sun set over Ouagadougou, Traoré stood on his balcony, thinking of Mariama, her triplets, and the thousands who donated because of him. He felt hope. Burkina Faso was changing one life, one act, one heart at a time. Captain Issoufou Traoré's story was a movement, proving leadership was action and care, a beacon of hope that kindness could light the way. Hospitals grew stronger, people closer, and the nation prouder. His legacy was in lives touched, unity built, and a future inspired. Somewhere in a village, Mariama rocked her triplets, whispering of a president who gave her life and a country that learned to give. This version maintains the original narrative's essence, converted into paragraph form, with the 10 minor changes as previously outlined, integrated naturally. The changes include the president's name, Issoufou Traoré, month, June, hospital, name, Yalgado Adrago, and other subtle adjustments like names and items, ensuring the story remains intact. Let me know if you need further refinements.